Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And a mazel tov to Sophia and her family. What a wonderful day and weekend you're going to have celebrating this really prepared and together young woman. Sophia's in my class. I have a class of 7th graders. They're like grown-up women. I still love the excitement of the Winter Olympics. Of course, I must search out every Jewish athlete. It's like in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. The Greek father would unpack every word's etymology until he declared, "It's Greek." That's what Alex and I do watching the Olympics. We search for athletes to claim as Jews. My favorite story this year is the story of a Jewishly identified athlete, Ethan Werrick. He's a Canadian hockey player who plays for, who knows? China. Yes, he does. His great-grandparents fled Eastern Russia during World War I and settled in Harbin, China. Now, Harbin had a small Jewish community from the 19th century. No Jewish community anymore, but the Chinese government and some entrepreneurs have reestablished the synagogue in Harbin as a museum, hoping to get, Jewish tourists. Werrick's grandparents were raised in China, and when Israel was established, the family immigrated to Israel, where his father was born. And during the summer, he plans to help build hockey in Tel Aviv. It's a nice Jewish story that we hope continues to develop. I myself, I am more of a winter sports spectator than participant. Winter sports have all of those things I don't like. It's cold, it's wet, you fall down and get hurt. Except when I was a child. I still never skied, but I used to love to ice skate. And we ice skated nearly every weekend. Frequently, we would ice skate at Bear Mountain State Park. They had an outdoor ring, still in operation today, and back then a ski jump. In fact, they held more ski jump competitions than any other similar site in the country. I would remember after skating, we would go and watch the jumpers. It seemed as if they were going to literally land on our heads. So I looked online to check if my memories were accurate and found videos and pictures of ski jumping and the spectators standing along the side of the slope and at the bottom of the slope, just like I remembered. And in these pictures, you saw men holding their skis and walking up the side of the slope to get ready for their jumps. They wore sweaters and wool ski pants and gloves, no goggles, and of course, no helmets. Quite different from the aerodynamic and neon clothing worn by today's ski jumpers. Yet each uniform tells a story. Even the sweatshirts and baggy pants of the Olympic men's big air freestyle skiing. And even though I've become a huge fan of this amazing sport, I think they're dressed to go out for a beer rather than compete in an Olympic, really extreme sport and spin through the air. Clothing styles change, as does the significance we assign to it. What would we have thought the first time we saw the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest as described in this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, from Exodus? Ve'ela habegadim asher ya'asu choshen ve'ofed ume'il uchtonet tashbet mitzanefet ba'avnet va'asu v'gdei kodesh la'haron achicha ulvanav lechano li. These are the vestments they are to make: a breastplate, and a phod, which is like an apron, a robe, a fringed or checkered tunic, depending how you understand the translation, a headdress, a gold plaque across the forehead, and a sash. They shall make those sacred vestments for your brother Aaron and his sons for priestly service to me, said God. The clothing was made from gold, blue, purple, and crimson yarns. The breastplate had 4 rows of 3 colored stones in each stone with the name of one of the tribes of Israel. And attached to the headdress by a blue cord was 8 seats. Seats was the name for the plaque or headband of pure gold on which was engraved, Kodesh Ladonai, holy to God. What did these vestments symbolize? According to the biblical commentator Sephorno, Aaron carries the names of the sons of Israel into the sanctuary on his breastplate, each stone a name, in order for God to always remember the merits of the founding tribes of the Jewish people and to treat their offspring favorably. The clothing was to help Aaron intercede on behalf of the Israelites. So you see, God too wanted to be reminded of the merits of the tribes before God would judge them on Yom Kippur. Even God wanted this physical and visual reminder. Ramban offers a more straightforward explanation of the verse. The function of the vestments are to enhance the dignity and the prestige of the priest and his sacred office. The gold headband worn by Kohen HaGadol states his position clearly. Kodesh Ladonai, holy to God. And here too the symbolism is for the benefit for those who see him. And not only for those who look at him, but for his own understanding of who he now must be. Our sages dig deeper into the meanings of the text so we can apply its lessons to our lives. Akedat Yitzchak, the 15th century Spanish commentary, says, just as man can be outwardly identified by his apparel, whether he is a merchant, a knight, or a priest, so are we able to recognize our inner character by our outward actions. Our actions create the robes we wear. God is described clothed in majesty and glory because God's actions are gloriful and majestified. Human beings' first set of clothing were the most humble of things, a leaf. Choosing our physical garments, like athletes deciding for which country they want to compete, does not tell the entire story. For if we were to look into the mirror, we would see our physical characteristics. Aaron, well, he was required to see not only who he was as an individual, he had to see that he stood for the well-being of the children of Jacob. He had to see himself holy in his service to God, holy in his relationships with the Israelites, and holy in his own spiritual and physical life. What he wore meant a lot to him and to those who gazed upon him. But we know that changing our uniform, well, it's pretty easy. It only describes who we are for that moment. It can never describe our totality. For our totality is physical and spiritual. It's what we do and how we think, how we play, pray, work, and rest. It's how we choose to use our resources and how we act when no one is looking. How would we feel if we were wearing a headband like Aaron's, a piece of pure gold inscribed with the words Kodesh Ladonai, holy to God? Worthy, cared for, protected, loved. But we don't need to wear one to feel those things. We just need to look at the person across from us and see them as if they're wearing that headband, Kodesh Ladonai, holy to God, and respond to them accordingly. Then each of us would treat the other holy to God, and each of us would become Kodesh Ladonai. Ken Yeratzon, may this be God's will for us. Amen.